So yeah, something had to give. And I just saw that there was so much more potential with the real estate side. Even though I was starting from scratch, I was prepared to walk away from steady money every 2 weeks, getting that paycheck, putting some more money into the retirement accounts. I was prepared to take that away from the family finances to go all in on real estate because I knew there was power there.
If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you smash that like button and click subscribe. For those of you listening on a podcast platform, be sure to subscribe on whatever platform that is and leave us a rating if you can. The more likes, ratings, and subscriptions that we get, the more we can spread the message and grow our community. So we also have a free Facebook group. It's called the Average Joe Finances Network. Check us out, join the group, join the community, ask questions, and become a part of the team. All of our other social media accounts are listed in our flow page, and we have them in the video or podcast description below. What's going on, everybody? So today I want to talk to you about Wealth Tender. If you are a finance content creator, whether that's a blog, a podcast, you're a financial advisor or a financial coach, I highly recommend you check out Wealth Tender. Wealth Tender is building a database of all the top finance blogs, podcasts, and the financial advisors and financial coaches that they have on there are vetted and top-notch. So we actually had the pleasure of hosting Brian Thorpe, the CEO and founder of Wealth Tender, on Average Joe Finance's podcast, episode 25. Go check out that episode, listen to his story, and listen to him talk about the database that he's building. It's really phenomenal stuff. So if you're interested in checking out the directory, or if you're a finance content creator and you're interested in joining up with the directory, go to the link below in the show notes or check out www.averagejoefinances.com/wealthtender. All right. Hey, how's it going, everybody? So today I have Tim Lyons on with me. Tim is the managing partner of Cityside Capital LLC. It's a real estate syndication and investment company that focuses on residential multifamily real estate that can yield a strong return for investors. Hey, Tim, appreciate you coming on and taking some time to talk with me today.
Yeah, Mike, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Hey, so first question I want to ask you right off the bat, I ask this for everybody, is I want to know a little bit about your background. So if you could, talk to me a little bit about, your story, what got you to where you are today, just if you could share that with our listeners.
Yeah. Hey, listen, it's something that's easy to talk about, right? It's my own story. So I grew up in, a middle-class household, and it was the likely story that you kind of hear on a lot of these podcasts of, go to school, get your good grades, behave, right? Go to college, get a good degree, and then get a job, max out your 401k, get married, buy a house, and maybe one day you'll be able to retire and start living. I got to be honest, I fell into the trap, kind of did all that stuff. And there was always something more that I wanted. I don't want to say I was unhappy, but I always had like that sense in my gut that I should be doing more. I should be having more. I should be, I should have more abundance in my life. And, I 2 weeks after graduating college, I joined the New York City Fire Department. It's a lifelong dream that I've had to be a firefighter. I've always been obsessed with fire trucks, and Santa Claus bought me a police scanner when I was like 9 years old, and I attached it to my bike, and I used to follow the fire engines all over town and could never quite shake it. So ended up having an uncle that got hurt real bad in 9/11. He was a New York City fire captain, and I think that day just kind of sealed the deal for me that that's what I wanted to do. So, I became a New York City fireman. Great job, great people. I mean, I can't say enough about it. Shortly thereafter, I went back to school and I became a nurse, because everybody who works I would say most guys who are firefighters, they have a second job. A lot of guys are in construction or HVAC or roofing and home improvement. But we have guys who do a ton of stuff, small business owners. We have, nurses, PAs, business owners. I mean, it's crazy the things that guys do. So that's what I did. And I was doing fine. I have 3 girls now, 9, 7, and 1.5. And, when the girls were young, it wasn't a big deal because, I was gone, I was working, bills were getting paid, and it was good. But at a certain point, even though I was putting money into my 457 plan, even though I was putting money away into different, retail brokerages, I still felt like there should be something else that I'm doing, and I'm trading my time for money. And real estate was one of those things that I always told myself that someday I'll get into real estate. Someday when I retire and I have a pension, I will get into real estate. I'll learn it then. I'll figure it out then, and I'll have money then. And it was always like this. What I now know is called either the destination fallacy or the arrival fallacy. That like someday you'll do something, and that wasn't good enough for me. I really kind of had a total mindset outlook change, paradigm shift, whatever you want to call it. And it sounds very cliche, Mike, but I was on vacation with my family, and this was 2 summers ago, and I read Rich Dad Poor Dad on the beach. I read it in 2 days. I couldn't put it down, and that led me into the cash flow quadrant, which led me into Tom Wheelwright's books about taxes, to Garrett Sutton's legal entity structure books, and then on and on and on. I mean, I just couldn't stop consuming content, whether I was reading it, listening to it on Audible, hitting the library, and then little by little that became podcasts. I shut off all music in my car. When I'm in the car, I catch a podcast. When I drive to work, I catch a podcast. Working out, running, catch a podcast or an audiobook. So anyway, I had to jump in. And the summer of 19, I told my wife I was going to be a real estate investor, and she said, "Sure you are, Tim. Whatever you say, dude. I'm 100% behind you. I don't want to know anything about it. I don't understand real estate." 4 months later, I was closing on a 3-family rental, a 3-family little small apartment building up here in the Northeast, and you know what? I was hooked. I could dive more into that property, or however you want me to talk about it, I'm game.
Yeah, right on. So actually, before we even dive into anything else, I just want to say I feel like this has got to be like a New York or Long Island thing, because when around the same age, I also had a police scanner and I had a CB radio too. So that was pretty cool. And I didn't join the fire department. I joined the military, but it's kind of like one of those things, man, just how you grow up out there on Long Island. It's just that whole, most middle class folks go that route. You're looking at joining the military, you're looking at joining the police or fire department, EMS. So that's awesome. So what's interesting to me though is, were you full time as a firefighter?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you were a full time firefighter, and then took on that second job as a nurse. And I think that it kind of adds to your repertoire a little bit, right? Because being a firefighter and being an emergency responder, and then also being in the medical field, you're really adding tools to your tool belt there, right? Now,
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure though, as you said, you talked about a mindset shift, right? And I'm pretty sure that when you had this mindset shift and you started looking at real estate, you started looking at what are the different tools you could put in your tool belt when you get into real estate. And I want to talk about your mindset shift, because this is actually something that we talk about a lot on the podcast. And it's the biggest thing that I think we try to nail down on people, whether it's just getting on top of your finances, or, committing to investing in real estate or any other asset classes that you're interested in, is changing your mindset. Because a lot of people, I forgot what term you used. Yeah, I think you said something about like living a fallacy, like
The
this
arrival
dream,
fallacy, or the
the
destination
arrival,
fallacy.
oh yeah, I'll get there. I'll get there eventually. I'll get there. But if you don't take any action, you ain't going nowhere, man. So talk to me a little bit about like, what was that catalyst that had you have this mindset shift that made you want to look into real estate?
So I think, just to back up 2 seconds, at Long Island, everybody not everybody, people in my ecosystem would be like, "Oh, you got to take the police test, you got to take the fire test, you got to take the sanitation test, be a teacher, get that job that you can get a pension and benefits for life," and that was like the golden ticket that everybody was looking to punch, and that's kind of what I did. I took all the test, and I didn't want to be a police officer really, but I wanted to be a fireman for sure. But I also wanted to go to college, and so it was really kind of like how I grew up. Like that was like the people around me. That was one of the things. Either you climbed a corporate ladder, or you got one of these civil service jobs with a pension. I think as I started to progress through the fire department, we have a retirement account that you can contribute. It's called the 457. It's just like any other, retirement vehicle. And, I was doing well, right? I mean, like some years I'd pack it in, other years I'd pull it back if I had a kid or something, or I bought a house, and then I'd go back and forth. And I started to see maybe at year like 10 that I started to have like a little bit of a sizable nest egg, but I couldn't touch it. I couldn't feel it. I couldn't, it was just kind of numbers on a page. And I'm saying to myself, okay, this is great. I'm thankful and I'm grateful that I have an opportunity to do this. I need to start doing something like now. Listen, I tried out things. I had a retail brokerage account, but still, it didn't feel like I was fulfilling the potential that was inside of me. And when I started to read some of these books and I started to get myself educated and do that type of stuff, I forget who it was that said it was, you can't save your way to wealth. The days of putting money to savings and having some interest bearing account at a bank is dead. I think we all know that there's a 0% funds rate right now. Like there is no interest bearing.
So there is no such thing as interest bearing accounts at a bank right now.
Yeah, I mean, with inflation, set to skyrocket any day now, and they're looking to average it out to 2% a year. You're losing money by keeping your money in the bank. So between realizing very quickly through the education piece, self-education piece, that you can't save your way to wealth, and that you really have to be on the right side of what Robert Kiyosaki has in his book about the cash flow quadrant. If you're an employee, if you're a W-2 employee, you are at the highest taxed quadrant of what he calls his cash flow quadrant. And to me, I was like, man, I'm working my face off, right? I mean, I'm working 60, 70, 80, 90 hours a week, sometimes overtime, this, that, the other thing. And I'm getting crushed with taxes, and I don't really have any tax relief. I don't have anything to keep more of what I make, and as I dove into real estate and dove into the taxes and, some of the benefits, it was equity. People get wealthy with equity, and people get wealthy with owning their own business, and people get wealthy when you have a viable tax strategy. Not just hoping at the end of the year, I'm going to race to my accountant with my W-2s and hope you can work some magic. And then maybe I can get a tax return of, $5, $6, $7, whatever, $8,000. Like, that was cool while it lasted, but that wasn't going to serve me anymore. There was something else that I could do, and I just had to find out what it was. And to me, it was real estate. So I went ahead and I bought that 3-family property, and, I put a new roof on it, new siding. We had to renovate the first floor unit. The other 2 units were actually occupied already, and it took a long time. And I'm not a super handy guy. I mean, I can manage, but it took me a really long time to paint the whole place. 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment, put in new LVT floors, and change all this out and get it rented and go through the whole process. And I loved it because I was learning a ton. And in the meantime, like, everybody else was calling, hey, the faucet's leaking, my toilet doesn't flush right, or whatever it is. So I was getting that education, and at the same time, I was realizing that this was not going to be, while it was great, and I knew it had a long-term wealth building effect, I knew it wasn't a scalable way for me to really truly build the kind of wealth that I was looking for. And that kind of brought me into my journey of commercial real estate and multifamily. And I'd be more than happy to tackle that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get into all of that. I mean, so you bought this first property that got you hooked. So it was a triplex, right? You're doing this while having 2 full-time jobs. And I know you have 3 daughters. You said, I don't know how many you had at the time. I know that could definitely be difficult. I have 2 daughters, and they're a handful. They're 11 and 9. So, yeah, I definitely feel you on that. So were you doing all these renovations yourself while still being full-time employed with 2 jobs?
But yeah, just to clarify, I was a per diem nurse. So I used to work 2 12-hour shifts a week, I guess on average, along with 2 or, sometimes more 2 24s in the firehouse, sometimes a little more with overtime or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I was still doing it. I was still working 2 jobs, landlording. And, my wife had made a quip one time. She was like, I thought when you got into real estate, you were going to have some more time, with us. And I was like, babe, I'm like, it takes a little while to get off the ground, but, trust me on this one. But yeah, I mean, it was a lot. And, that was November of 19. I bought that property. By February of 20, I had resigned from the hospital to launch my multifamily venture, Cityside Capital. Conveniently, right before COVID hit, too. Working in a level 1 trauma center, ER. They got slammed. But anyway, so yeah, something had to give, and I just saw that there was so much more potential with the real estate side. Even though I was starting from scratch, I was prepared to walk away from steady money every 2 weeks, getting that paycheck. Putting some more money into the retirement accounts. I was prepared to take that away from the family finances to go all in on real estate because I knew there was power there. And, my wife knows me, like when I put my mind to something, it's going to get done. And, I'm going to go 110 miles an hour to get it done.
Let's take a brief moment to hear from our show sponsors. What's going on, Average Joes? We know that managing one account or your entire family's portfolio can be stressful and time-consuming. From building and maintaining spreadsheets, calculating how many new shares and units you need to purchase with your contributions, finding the time to log into your brokerage and make those trades, and annually rebalancing each account. Well, my friends over at Passive came up with a tool that can help you manage all of this in a fraction of time without spreadsheets and manual calculations. Passive is a portfolio management tool that makes it easier for DIY investors to maintain a balanced portfolio and build a passive investment strategy at their online broker. It eliminates the need to use spreadsheets, saves you from having to log into your broker to place trades, and helps you stick to your portfolio's target allocation. Elite users can save even more time by using the one-click trades feature and having Passive execute the required trades on your behalf. All of this can be done from the Passive dashboard for all of your accounts. No more logging in to multiple brokerage accounts. Passive is not a robo-advisor. It won't tell you what you should invest in, so you'll need to decide that for yourself, either through self-education or alongside a financial advisor. To learn more about Passive or to sign up, check out our link below, www.averagejoefinances.com/passive. That's PASSIV with no E. Again, PASSIV with no E. Check them out. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Mike Cav from Average Joe Finances. Just want to talk to you today about Prep Agent. If you're interested in learning how to become a real estate agent and being able to pass the test on your first try, check out Prep Agent. Check out the link below in the show notes or in the video description. Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Mike Cav with Average Joe Finances. We're living in some pretty tough times right now, and if you don't have life insurance, you should probably get it. You need to protect yourself, protect your family, and protect what you own. Check out the link below in the show notes or in the video description. Let's get back to today's episode. Your first property was that 3-unit, and now you said you're investing in multifamily. Now, are you talking about like larger multifamily, like apartments and everything? Is that what you're doing with Cityside Capital?
Yeah. So Cityside Capital was kind of born. It was born really in July of 20, but when I walked away from the hospital late February, I guess between my time of buying the 3-family in November of 19 to February of 20, I realized that I wanted to scale up and go into multifamily, because I maybe had one more purchase of a 3-family or something like that, with my own capital, and then I was going to be tapped out. And I was worried about that. I'm like, if I buy another 3-family, yeah, it's going to cash flow and I'll buy it right and everything, but then I'm done. So if I get jammed up, I don't have a ton of capital left over to do it. So, and quite frankly, buying 100-year-old balloon frame, wood frame houses, I just didn't think I was going to be able to raise capital from people that, know, like, and trust me in my inner circle to do a project like that. So I started investigating, education, like mentorship platforms. And Mike, I think growing up in New York, just outside of New York City, I think we are born with a healthy dose of skepticism that's kind of built into our DNA. And when I was hearing all these people that like, yeah, you need to get a coach and a mentor, and you gotta, if you want to be successful, you have to, get into somebody's circle that is already doing what you want to do and add value to them and learn from them, and that's going to collapse your time frame. And I was a little skeptical because these mentorship programs cost a lot of money, and I was kind of worried about, well, if I part ways with this capital for a mentorship slash education slash coaching program, what's the return on investment? And I really, it took me a few months to wrap my head around it. But I can tell you right now, the program that I did join was the best move that I've made. Yeah, it's the Jake and Gino program. It's hands down the best investment that it's the best investment that I made. The education, the platform, the networking opportunities, the people inside of that program make that program. So, I did my education piece, and then I just took action, right? Because I was nervous. I didn't know how to do this. I had to underwrite properties. I had to approach any brokers. Were they going to take me seriously? Yeah, I have a 3-family, but now I'm looking at 12, 18, 25, 48 unit, properties, and it's a little bit overwhelming, but it didn't matter. I was already committed. And, when you talk about mindset, there's a guy, John Assaraf, who's in the personal development space. He talks about, you can be interested in something or you can be committed to something. And that really stuck with me because, I was interested in making money and building wealth for the longest time, but I never took any action to make that happen. It was only until I committed to doing this and walking away from the hospital and spending money on coaching and mentorship and get myself educated that I really felt like I was actually like moving in the right direction, that I had some momentum going in the right direction. So, that was March of 2020. Obviously, we know that COVID kind of hit right around that time. And, being a New York City firefighter, I work in the borough of Queens, and where I work, it got crushed. It got devastated by COVID. I mean, it was really bad. I mean, we were doing CPR nonstop for 24 hours at a time, and nobody was making it. Usually sometimes we can get somebody, back to life a little bit, get their pulses back. This was game over. And it got so bad that after, a couple of weeks of this, the medical director of New York City said, all right, after 20 minutes of CPR, just stop, that's it. And that never happened ever. So it was kind of a crazy time. So I ended up getting sick. And, at the time, there was a lot of uncertainty. So I actually moved into my mother-in-law's house, and she moved into my house, and I quarantined away from my family for 6 weeks. So I was back and forth to the firehouse and stuff, and we just didn't know, what was going on back then. So during that time, instead of feeling sorry for myself or being like upset or anything, I just crushed through material. I crushed through audiobooks. I crushed through podcasts. I was up at 5 and I didn't go to bed till midnight, Also in that period, I mean, I just started calling brokers and getting to know people and networking like crazy. March of 2020, I had 200 LinkedIn connections. Now I'm about like 3,800 or something. I really hit the ground running. So you know what? I can report to you now that I'm working on my 3rd syndication. I've completed, a co-sponsorship of 2 syndications worth nearly $20 million and 190 doors, and I'm just getting started, working on another syndication as we speak. So it's been a quick ride, a wild ride, but I'm thrilled, and I can't wait to keep on going.
That's awesome, man. I mean, so that's like in a 1-year period, you go from 3 units to over 190. That's insane. And getting ready to close on another one. I mean, you're going to be over 200 just like that, really, really job well done. So
thank you, sir.
I think one of the things that you mentioned in there, and I think it's kind of like the recurring theme with what got you off the ground and going was just to committing and taking like this massive action to get there, right? If you just kept reading and you didn't start networking, you didn't start talking to the other people, and you're just consuming content, but you're not actually going out there and talking to the people that are doing this, talking to the people that will actually bring the deals to you and things like that. If you weren't doing any of that, by the time you would have, said, okay, hey, I think I'm ready. It's time to go start talking to people, and you don't really know anybody, you would have just delayed yourself probably another year or two. So you didn't let getting sick hold you back either. You started making those phone calls and stuff. So that's really good stuff, bro. So good job on that. I asked you a couple things before we did this. Like I have like a little form that everybody fills out when they come on the show. And one of the things that you put on yours, and it made me chuckle a little bit, is just the fact that it says, Well, if Tim, who's a firefighter and an ER nurse can do it, so can you. Besides just that little saying, I mean, what you just explained just now proves that, and it's not that, anybody can do it, that just get into it. It's anybody that's willing to do the work and take action can do it. So I definitely want to point that out. But, phenomenal job, man. Building Cityside Capital, right? Obviously you had to build a team. So can you talk to me about like what you did to, put this team together before you started getting into your deals? Can you explain to me
Yeah, I
how
love
how
that.
you put your team together?
Yeah, and so that's another thing. My limiting beliefs were that I want to do this by myself. I want to make money. I want to build wealth, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and very quickly in real estate, you have to kind of realize that you need a good team around you. You need somebody who can understand the business side of the business, or the underwriting, or the boots on the ground, or, they have a construction background, or the asset management. To be successful, you gotta be the dumbest person in the room. You gotta surround yourself with a good team, right? So that was, I owe a lot of that to the Jake and Gino program, because that's where I did a ton of my networking. And my first deal as a co-sponsor of a syndication came through one of my direct mentors in that program, and he gave me an opportunity of a lifetime to kind of see how the syndication game worked from the other side of the rope. What does it mean to have investor relations and raise capital, and due diligence and closing and financing, and all this stuff. And it was like drinking from a fire hose. That was an opportunity that I will be forever grateful for, and that got the ball rolling. And so it's really kind of, when you're building out a team, it's where can you add value, and where else do you need help. And someone said, like, the squeeze of a juice of a watermelon, and I'm gonna butcher this quote, but the squeeze of the watermelon is better than having the juice from, I am butchering this to death, the squeeze of a grape or something like that. So it's having that abundance mentality that you can go out and tackle a bigger property and a bigger portfolio with a great team than buying a single family house, which is nothing wrong with that. It's just a different way to kind of progress in the real estate investing world.
Yeah, so building a team, that is something that's definitely important. And you know, you had that opportunity that showed up, from a mentor, right? And you just jumped in. I mean, how well did you know him before you actually got into this partnership?
So when you join a program like that, well, I can only speak for Jake and Gino, but we have an accountability coach, we have a direct deal coach, and then we have an accountability. I mean, there's so many ways to generate that mojo, between people. And the guy that gave me my break was my direct coach. And so I'm on the phone with him, a couple of times a week. Hey, I'm looking at this deal. We're underwriting. We're going through things. And he had made a comment to me one time that I reminded him of a younger version of himself when he was kind of coming up through the ranks. And I just think we were both New Yorkers from Long Island. I think we just had a connection, and kind of blossomed from there. But again, it's putting yourself out there, right? I mean, I had asked him numerous times, hey, how can I add value to you? What can I do to support your outcomes? So it's like, it's networking, it's putting yourself out there, it's trying to add value where you can, and obviously, when you do something like that, opportunities kind of present themselves to you.
Yes, absolutely. And if you're not putting yourself out there, the opportunity is never going to show up because opportunity won't look for you. So you need to look for it. And if it does arise and you're out there, you'll get your shot. So that's definitely awesome, man. And you're getting yourself to a point now, right, where you're building up your units and your cash flow, right? Do you ever see yourself getting to the point where you are just going to completely replace your W-2 job with your income from your investments?
Yes, I mean that's the goal. I mean, look, I love being a New York City firefighter, and I've got 15 years on the job, and it's been a wild ride. But I am eligible to retire in a couple of years when I have 20 years of service. I mean, I'll be a very young man at that point. I don't know if I'll be able to. I mean, I got three weddings to pay for, three college educations, but yes, I mean, that is the goal. That is what I'm certainly working towards. I do see that happening. And that's kind of like the game to me. I've always been an athlete, so it's more of like a game to me, like a strategy, how am I going to get there? So when I joined this program, I thought I was going to take down 6 units and 10 units with my dad and my brothers and, maybe some other people. And when I got introduced to the syndication world where you can pool, investors' capital to take down 100, 200, 300 unit properties. I mean, it was so powerful that I couldn't stop learning about it. I couldn't stop studying it. I couldn't stop learning the underwriting. And, that's kind of brought us to where we are now. And, last year was, 2020 was our first go around, and we're co-sponsors on 20 million in acquisitions. I mean, 2021, we're looking at 100 million in acquisitions. That's the power of building out that team. That's the power of, having that little snowball, just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and having that momentum going forward. So yeah, I mean, Greg is my brother. He's my partner in Cityside Capital. He's down in Virginia, and we talk about, what Gino from Jake and Gino talks about, the conveyor belt. So like his idea is, putting a couple of properties on, say you put four syndications on the conveyor belt each year. Well, guess what? Syndication, that life cycle is around 4, 5, 6 years. So like in 4, 5, 6 years, 4 of those are going to have a disposition, right? They're going to get sold. And that's kind of where you make the bulk of your money. But right behind that, you have 4 more, right? And you keep on putting, these properties up on the conveyor belt, and boom, I mean, before you know it, you're rocking and rolling. So I hope that made sense. The conveyor belt.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. And the snowball too, you turn that snowball into an avalanche. But yeah, the conveyor belt definitely makes sense because, you have the 4 that are going out, but there's still 4 more coming right behind it. And it just keeps going. It keeps getting fed and keeps getting fed because you're constantly, getting more deals. Right. So that's phenomenal stuff, man. Really love what you're doing. I love the fact that you're doing it right now as full time as a firefighter and everything. And it gives me hope that I'm going in the right direction with the folks that I'm working with. Cause I'm still active duty Navy. It's pretty wild. I definitely, I'm going to finish up my time to get my pension, because the way I look at it, it's another vehicle of passive income. And when I'm retired and my expenses are pretty much covered by my pension and my rental units, I mean, what else can you really ask for? If you want to walk away, you can walk away. But I think I'm just going to keep going, and you should definitely finish up your time and get that pension since you're so close anyway, right? You said 15 years?
100%. Yeah, I'm 15, 15 and change in, and I got to do 20. So
right on. I'm gonna hit 19 this year, so.
Yeah, 100%. So you're knocking on the door there. But I actually, because I've been doing this, Mike, I'm up at 5:30 in the morning, and I'm getting work done, and I can't wait to get out of bed. And that wasn't always the case. I used to sleep in and whatever, but I'm up at 5:30. I get 2-3 hours of work done before my girls are getting ready for school, and then I'm all over that and get them off to school, and I'm back to work. It's liberating to be working from home, and not like I don't get paid every 2 weeks, but I get to eat what I kill, and like that's kind of like it's a force within me that it's almost insatiable. So I can tell you that if I retire at 20 years, I'm still up at 5 in the morning, and I'm still going out there to find deals for investors, because let's be honest, when you're starting out, the investors I have, they're my friends and they're my family, and they're the people in my ecosystem. They're my coworkers. So, and they're by and large, a lot of them are New Yorkers with that built-in DNA, skepticism into their DNA we were talking about. So, when you're raising capital for these deals and trying to explain to people what syndication is, like it just feeds the fire, and I love it. I love educating people about how it works and how they can build wealth, and how this is a real way to do it.
Right on, man. Right on. So I want to ask you one more question. Okay. And this is
Hmm.
probably the most important one, right? And that is, where can people find more information about you? Do you have a website, social media you could share with us?
Of course, yeah. You can find me at citysidecap.com. We're actually in the process of rolling out our brand new website. Should be out in next week or two. But yeah, I'm on Facebook. I think it's Timothy Lyons. I'm also on LinkedIn. So I try to get back to everybody that I can. It takes me a few days sometimes, but I try to get it back to everybody because networking is so powerful. Just meeting people, and even if it doesn't go anywhere right away, like you just never know where things are going to lead. So yeah, hit me up. And my email address is tim@citysidecap.com.
All right. Yeah, I'll definitely make sure I have all the links in the show notes for everybody as well. So it'll be a little bit easier. All you got to do is click and check out Tim's website and his social media accounts. So Tim, again, absolute pleasure. I mean, your story is amazing. To get into what you're doing right now in light of, the pandemic that's going on. And not only that, but like you were in the thick of it, right? As a firefighter, and especially, in Queens. Oh my goodness. When this first started back in March, I mean, that's all that was going on was, what's going on in New York? What's going on in New York? It was really bad. So my hat's off
No
to you,
doubt.
brother. I mean, you're doing some phenomenal stuff. And next time I'm in New York, for sure, we're gonna grab a slice of pizza and grab a beer or something.
Love it, love it. And to be quite honest with you, I owe a debt of gratitude to you and your brothers and sisters too in the armed forces. Really support you guys 100%. So thank you for your service as well.